The emotion she'd been holding back crashed over her like a dark wave, taking her under. She leaned toward him just as the dam broke. Jase made a low sound and reached for her, wrapping his strong, warm arms around her as she laid her head on his shoulder. He ran a comforting hand up and down her back gently. "Are you hurt anywhere else?" Just her heart, now shattered into 1,000 jagged pieces. She shook her head, her entire body trembling while she choked back the sobs, trying to claw their way free of her throat, the humiliation all but strangling her. This was a nightmare. Only she wasn't dreaming. "All right, let's get you out of here." Jase slid one arm beneath her knees and lifted her, keeping her close to him as he carried her out of the culvert and through the water-filled ditch. Molly ducked her head against the pelting rain and curled into him. She didn't know what to say. Was ashamed to tell him what had happened. "I'm going to boost you up, then come right behind you." He lifted her toward the steeply sloping side and helped her scramble over the edge before climbing up the side. Before she could even get to her feet, he scooped her up again, ignoring her mumbled protest as he strode for his truck, parked close by at the edge of the road. Molly curled against him, still trying to come to terms with everything that had happened, as well as something that was still happening inside her right now. Jase opened the front passenger door and carefully placed her on the leather seat. The interior was warm, almost hot compared to outside. "Hang tight." He disappeared for a moment, opened the rear door to grab something, and came back with a jacket. He tucked it around her, did up her seatbelt because her hands were still shaking, and shut the door. Once he had climbed into the driver's seat, he cranked the heat to high and reached over to aim the vents at her. Molly sighed in relief as the warm air flowed over her. The numbness was retreating, leaving a sapping exhaustion in its wake. Still leaning toward her, Jase reached up to stroke her wet hair away from her face, her eyes worried. "Ma, do you need to go to the hospital?" No, I'm okay." "You're not, and you'll never be okay again." "What happened?" he asked, turning the truck in a tight circle and starting back up the road. She huddled beneath his jacket and told him about Carter breaking into the house and attacking her in as few words as possible, her voice hitching due to the little gasps still jarring her lungs. Jase was silent as she finished, his stubbled jaw clenched tight. He shook his golden-brown head, and a deep, terrible shame engulfed her, almost worse than the pain of Carter hitting her. But there was more to her story. So much more. She didn't want to hide the rest from him, and had intended to tell everyone anyway. Just not like this. "And it gets worse," she added, her voice barely above a whisper. He looked over at her sharply. She didn't speak for a long moment, staring out the windshield into the gloom. "I'm pregnant," she finally said, her voice breaking. Jase's sharply indrawn breath made her cringe inside. He snapped his head back straight to watch the road. "I know." She gave a bitter laugh. "Unreal, isn't it?" The irony of it might have been funny if it wasn't so freaking sad. She'd always dreamed of having kids one day, but not like this. And now it was even worse than it was with Carter, because it meant that she and the child would always be tied to him. "I thought you said you guys hadn't been intimate in months." They hadn't. Except for one time. One lapse in judgment that had turned out to be more costly than she could have ever imagined. A few beats of thunderous silence passed. Then Jase glanced over at her again, and his expression was so hard it might have been carved out of granite. "Did he force you?" His voice was savage. "No," she answered immediately, though given the shit show of the past few months, she understood why he might wonder that. "No." Sighing, she explained. "It was a stupid one-time nothing. We hadn't slept together in months. But he was so damn sad and vulnerable this one night, and I didn't know how to help him. I've been on the pill, but for whatever reason it failed." She shouldn't have slept with him. Her deep-seated need to heal and comfort had overtaken her usual common sense. And now she was paying the price. "What am I going to do?" she whispered, feeling utterly lost and alone. Jase stopped at an intersection and turned left rather than going straight to his place. "I'm taking you to Beckett and Sierra's." Horrified, she jerked her head around to stare at him. "No, don't." "Yes, Moll. You need to be somewhere safe while Beckett and I deal with Noah. Sierra will take care of you." Nothing she could say or do would change the inevitable.